So, U.S. President Donald Trump's claims that he's taking malaria medication to ward off the coronavirus has sparked all kinds of conversations about hydroxychloroquine. In South Africa, scientists will be taking part in a trial to test the efficacy of the drug. But the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority has called on doctors to stop prescribing the medication after some pharmacies had run out of the drug. To help us understand these dynamics, we're now joined on the line by Dr. Shyamli Munbodh, who, of course, works in the sector and helps us understand what the implications are. Doc, thanks very much for your time. Welcome to the AM Report. So let's start by taking a step back and understanding this drug as a start. I mean, give us an idea of what the drug is traditionally used for and how it made it into the conversation around treating COVID-19.
Good morning, Ayand, and the viewers. So hydroxychloroquine is basically an oral medication that is approved for use in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus erythematosus, and a certain subtype of porphyria. Initially, it was developed for preventing and treating malaria in areas where malaria remains sensitive to chloroquine. And it has shown as one of promising therapies in COVID-19 infection treatment.
Yeah, but now there are calls for caution about using it for exactly that purpose. What changed?
So what has happened is, first things first, the malaria, the rheumatoid arthritis, and SLE patients for whom hydroxychloroquine is approved, they must not be deprived of hydroxychloroquine. At present, there is no confirmatory data proving that hydroxychloroquine is effective in the treatment of COVID-19 infections. And when I say there's no confirmatory data, it's like the data that one would get from a randomized controlled clinical trial. And so even though it's found to be a promising therapy, the decision to prescribe hydroxychloroquine must be made by a medical professional who will take clinical responsibility for its usage and reporting of safety effects. The safety profile of hydroxychloroquine extends over many organ systems, so that kind of monitoring needs to be in place for those patients. So the treatment is best then restricted to hospital patients. It must not be prescribed for mild cases of COVID-19 infections. And as we've learned in the recent weeks, that mild cases usually resolve spontaneously without pharmaceutical interventions. What we recommend is the patient, where possible, must be enrolled onto a clinical trial to access hydroxychloroquine.
Given that, then, sorry, Doc, if I can come in there, I mean, what should we then make of someone like Donald Trump, who's admitted to using hydroxychloroquine often, even though, A, he's not infected with COVID-19 and is certainly, therefore, not a mild case? What are the possible ramifications for someone like him taking the drug as he said he is?
Well, SAHPRA, is firm on this, that it has to be, within very controlled circumstances that the product is prescribed. And at the moment, it is being researched for treatment of COVID-19 infections and not necessarily prevention of COVID-19 infections. So I would say to patients out there to exercise caution and, rather put safety first and see a medical professional if you think that you qualify for treatment with hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah. So, Doc, I'm also taking point of our use of the term chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine. Chloroquine in particular sort of made some kind of an appearance when the National Department of Health released new guidelines on testing and treatment of coronavirus. They mentioned chloroquine, but we're speaking of hydroxychloroquine. The difference is, at least in the molecular structure, is an extra oxygen atom. But I mean, are there any other, stark differences that we should take note of between these two substances?
So I ended with hydroxychloroquine. It generally has a more favorable safety profile compared to chloroquine. And although, it's generally used for the same indications that I've mentioned before, but having said that, it still has a safety profile. Hydroxychloroquine safety profile is still, very extensive, and it extends over many organ systems. We're looking at cardiac effects, where you might get dysrhythmias and certain, a technical term that we use, QT prolongation, which is quite severe. Then severe hypoglycemia, which actually can be a problem with diabetic patients, ocular effects, hearing loss, and certain allergic reactions, which can be quite severe as well. So it's, even though it has a more favorable safety profile than chloroquine, it still has a safety profile that requires careful monitoring under medical supervision.
All right, thanks for getting us into the picture. We certainly appreciate your time and insights. Dr. Shyamli Munbodh is a medicines regulator with the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. I certainly appreciate your time indeed.